Coming up on this episode of the Women's Leadership Mindset Series podcast.
Here's what I like to usually leave people thinking about, because personally, we believe everybody was born with a piece of a super puzzle. Mm-hmm. And if we were all actively building our piece of the super puzzle, we would already be experiencing ultimate health, wealth, and peace on planet Earth. And if you're not seeing that much health, wealth, and peace on Earth, then you might want to ask yourself, are you still sitting on your puzzle piece? Because we need you. You are the miracle we're waiting for.
Are you trying to say, stop sitting on your hands?
Stop sitting on your puzzle piece.
Get on a plane.
Get up and do it. That's it.
Welcome, leaders, to the Women's Leadership Mindset Series presented by TK Page Enterprises. My name is Teresa Page, and I am your host and looking forward to spending these next few moments with all of you. We have a lot of work to get done on today, but first, allow me to invite you to connect with me by subscribing to my website and to connect and follow me on LinkedIn, YouTube, and other social media platforms. And always feel free to contact me directly via email or by booking an appointment. So what is our goal? Well, as an author, speaker, coach, and mentor, my mission is to help professional women renew their leadership mindset with fresh fire and purpose through diverse mediums of leadership empowerment solutions and the My Journey to Wholeness book series. However, the Women's Leadership Mindset Series is a new initiative intended to spotlight powerful women leaders and how they serve the world through their professions and purpose. So with a goal to help women realize their unfulfilled dreams and re-energize the leaders they always were, this platform is designed to enhance, empower, educate, equalize, and even emancipate, as our featured guests share their entrepreneurial stories, provide valuable resources, and guidance in a caring, professional, and impactful manner. So, let's get down to business. Well, all right, in today's video, it is my pleasure to welcome to my virtual stage, Sheyenne and Don Kreamer, founders of Unity for Wellness and Peace System of Crestview, Florida. While coming from very different backgrounds, Sheyenne and Donald Kreamer found out early in their marriage that they both had a desire to escape from the difficulties they had seen in their families growing up. They came to believe that entrepreneurship was the most likely path to the freedom their hearts desired. Their efforts to learn about business were rewarded with business activity that not only allowed them to live comfortably, but also allowed them more time with their two sons, a gift we all should have. After surviving a health-related financial crash, they learned far too much about the systems that keep people caught in the poverty trap. Donald was inspired to run for governor as an independent candidate and was horrified to find out how much corruption was in that system. Their conclusion? The systems we've been relying on for everything in our lives have been taking us further and further away from our Creator and the gifts He gave to us. The solution? Real change must come from the bottom up by putting heart and soul back into education, business, and communities. So to contact Sheyenne and Don, you may visit them on their website at www.unityforwellnessandpeace.com. You may also connect with them via email at trianglesolutionsalliance@gmail.com. And you may connect with them on Facebook at groups/Unity for Wellness and Peace. So we'll bring all of this information back to you along with Don and Cheyenne's complimentary gift before we go. But first, I want to say welcome, Sheyenne and Don. How are you?
First of all, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. We are doing fabulously well today, and we look forward to having this conversation with you.
Absolutely. I just have to say, I am so stoked because you are my very first couple, um, couple web podcast guest, and I'm so excited. And I'm looking forward to our conversation and to learn about the amazing work that both of you are doing out in the world. And as we move forward, I have to give a shout out for the wonderful connector, Carrie George of CIBN, for making this lovely connection in between me and you, Sheyenne, and having the opportunity to be a part of one of your most recent events that I hope that you'll be able to talk about a little later, and having you both to come into this space with me. So let's go ahead and get down to business. And I want to hear a little bit from both of you in this question that I'm going to start off with. Why don't you both tell me just a little bit about yourselves beyond the bio?
Beyond the bio. You want to start?
No, good. Ladies first.
All right. Well, for myself, I grew up in the state of Vermont, which, if you're not familiar with that state, it's been said there's more cows than people there. So it was a very unique environment that I came from. And, in fact, somebody asked me recently, what did I think I wanted to be when I was growing up? And there were two things. I wanted to be an astronaut and I wanted to be a teacher. And interestingly enough, now between Don and I, we do a lot of teaching, mostly adults, but we've been doing more and more with youth as well. My background included being a manufacturing apprentice. That's when this guy. And, working in Fortune 500 company for about 12 years until I got laid off twice in less than a year and decided that I needed to figure out a better path. So that's when entrepreneurship entered my life, and we've learned a whole lot about business and about health and wellness, as we mentioned in the intro, that kind of took this guy down for a while, and we decided we weren't going to let it stop us. We've been learning how to help ourselves and other people become healthier in the process. What about you, honey?
Well, let's see. No, I wasn't born in a log cabin. After finishing high school, I decided I had to move. So I did join the Marine Corps. I did time in the Marine Corps, served our country. And then afterwards, I started my own business. Then we decided, when I met her, we got together and decided, we need to go in business for ourselves. Being an entrepreneur is the best way to go. You'll never, doubt it. After you get there, you can be very successful. It's not that hard. And my true love is helping people, especially people who have physical challenges. I had my physical challenge. I thought actually that I was heading for a wheelchair, but now I'm not hidden. I'm not in a wheelchair, and I can do a lot of things. And I love to help people. That's the main thing. That's why we do what we do, because we know people need help, and we want to help them.
That's it.
Well, I believe that's beautiful. Thank you both for giving me a little bit of insight. And Mr. Kreamer, thank you so much for your service for our country and keeping us safe. And I just love the way that you all have kind of broken down and shared your journey as far as, how you are falling into entrepreneurship. Now, Mr. Don, I want to circle back to what you just mentioned about your true love as far as being able to help people, and especially those who may have physical challenges. I know that sometimes, those who may be in a wheelchair or may be confined in some kind of ways, they feel like that should be the only part of their life. What would you say as we prepare to move on in our conversation? But can you take just a minute here just to talk about why life is not over, even for those who may not get up and walk again, or whatever their physical challenge is, how to move beyond that challenge and still be able to fulfill their purpose in the world despite their challenges? What would you say to them today?
Well, a lot of people don't understand about their health problems. And it's the lack of minerals. We've been taught how the body needs approximately 60 minerals every day. And most people, they're lucky to get 10. And that's why we have a lot of people that are sick. Even if you're in a wheelchair, and I've had some good friends that were wheelchair bound, and they had so much to offer. People have something to offer all the time. Everybody's different, but everybody can be the same. I always said you can learn from anybody. When I had my office equipment business, I had new guys come in, and I listened and watch them. They figured ways out doing things that I didn't figure out, and they were better. So no matter who the person is, their age, whatever, you can learn something from everybody. And that's what I believe in.
That's beautiful. And that's beautiful. And I love that. I love that. So we're going to go ahead and move forward into our conversation. The key word that I believe we've already established is entrepreneurship. And that is the way to go. And I would just say, specifically here in our current culture right now, where so many individuals have been pushed back into the job market, what I'm noticing the trend is that it's a lot of people of age, both men and women, of a particular age. They're a little bit too old to try to take on anything entry level, but they're also too young um, for retirement. And so then you're kind of in that quandary of what do we do next? So you're applying, you're submitting applications, but because of your experience, because of your education, you're a high price ticket item that most companies don't want to pay for. Why do you think now may be the time, even in extraordinary times, that this might be the moment for so many people, not only here in our country, but in others, to really embrace entrepreneurship and to create an economy where they're no longer an employee, but become employers? Why is this the moment?
Let me just say one thing real quick. I always ask people, who would you rather make rich? Some other person or yourself? If you're working for a company, who's really making the money? If you're working for yourself, who's making the money? That's something people have to understand. It's your choice.
Absolutely. And we've been trained so heavily
Yes.
to, build somebody else's dream. And that's an unfortunate situation. But, I think right now, a really important point to make is as AI is totally changing the career landscape, and so many people have no idea how many jobs are going to be completely eliminated. Part of this whole challenge right now for looking at entrepreneurship is to get to a place where you're connecting your head and your heart and listening to what's here. Because I truly believe that we're in so much change on the planet right now that if we don't stop and listen and try to hear that still small voice within and get that guidance for where we need to go, then it's going to be a heck of a lot harder, because I believe our higher power can see at a much broader range in terms of what's good for us, what can create new income for us. And, if you believe in the idea that we were made in the image and likeness of a creator, then we were born to create. And it's truly a sad situation that we were in our society trained not to create, but to go do something that somebody else tells us to do. And that's what I think we're really seeing right now as a pivotal point, is get clear with your own creator, who you are, what you're meant to do, and follow that guidance. And there's a good chance a lot of it will be related to an entrepreneurial kind of endeavor.
Absolutely. And I thank you both for sharing your thoughts on that. I totally agree that we were engineered for to be creative, just as our creator, whether you believe that to be God or the designer, I leave that up to people. But I do believe that we were made just for that. And you made a mention about AI, Cheyenne. And both of you could tackle what the question I'm getting ready to form off the fly. um, we are living in a time of AI, And it seems like there seems to be a lot of great fear, and I understand the fear because it has caused mass layoffs in so many different places. But I also believe, as you mentioned, Cheyenne, that this is an opportunity for us to really elevate as the human family, to evolve to a greater sense of self, understanding what is our giftings, what is our calling, so that we're able to create something different that we can take into the marketplace. Can you speak to or help settle the fears in regards to AI and why AI, especially in the framework of entrepreneurship, why should we take advantage of AI to help us to move faster in being able to bring what our natural giftings are to the marketplace? Why should we not be afraid of it? Use it as a tool, use it to our advantage. So speak to that just a little bit, however you want to talk about that. And I'm gonna leave this both open to both of you to respond.
Okay.
Well, I know it's taken me a little while to get to a place of feeling comfortable to work a little bit with AI, because to me, it's like, all right, one of the dangers of AI is that we get lazy in our thought processes, right? And I don't want the human race to just say, oh, I'm just going to depend on AI for everything. And that to me would take away some of the value of what AI really can do for us. And I was trained as a computer programmer, and right now there's a lot of computer programming, software engineering people out here who are scared silly because AI is writing programs for them. And it's just like that. So that's why we're seeing a lot of layoffs in that arena. But here's the one thing AI cannot do. It cannot build human relationships. It can act like it is, but there's a difference. There's a difference between the conversation that you and I are having right now versus a conversation with ChatGPT or Grok or whoever you're using. AI is programmed to tell you an awful lot of what you want to hear. And that's
yes.
not always the best thing for us. So relationship building is one of the things that AI is not really designed to do all that well. We still need that human connection, and that's something we've lost in our technology. So if AI ends up pushing us back towards having to have more human connection to be able to create and to be able to serve each other on the planet, that is a beautiful thing. And then, of course, on the other side, if it can simplify processes and creating things that can help us market ourselves more easily, that's a beautiful thing, because anybody who steps out in the entrepreneurial arena knows that marketing is the most time-consuming thing, the most challenging thing. And I know for myself, I am totally graphically challenged. Do not ask me to create anything that looks pretty on paper. But by gosh, ChatGPT does a great job of that.
It's great as long as you control it and don't control you.
There you have it.
Absolutely. Exactly. And that's how I really feel about it. I think from my point of view as an author, because I published my third book a few months ago in October of 2025, I did a new edition, and I use Copilot to kind of run it through, like to give me some summaries. And there are a lot of it spit out or basically gave me information about my book that I didn't even consider when you're talking about the marketing piece. And as a solopreneur, it has helped me considerably to help me to move faster because I have to do all the things. There is no distribution of responsibilities. So being able to utilize it more so as an assistant, so to speak, has tremendously helped me as an entrepreneur. And you're right, Mr. Don, we control it. It doesn't control us. And that's the point of view that I see it. And I think the more that we get comfortable about it, that it will be able to utilize it as a tool, just as we always use either Microsoft or any other program that has helped us along the way. So I want to say thank you all so much for giving me some insight there. So let's get into the nitty and the gritty of the business. Unity for wellness and peace. That is the framework on how you all are serving the world right now. Why don't you all tell us a little bit about your organization? Who does it serve? And what are your goals moving forward throughout 2026?
I think 2026 is going to be a really pivotal year for us because we've literally spent 25 years building this system. So it's, sometimes entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. And it actually consists of 2 for-profit businesses and a nonprofit organization, of which this gentleman is the executive director of. So, the system itself is really kind of, I like to think of it as like a manufacturing funnel, where on the beginning of the system with Universal Solution Alliance, which is our corporation here in Florida, that's where we're reaching out to the unemployed community, like what you saw with the event we did recently. We reached out to the unemployed community. We reached out to young people who were just starting to think about careers. We reached out to veterans who might be trying to figure out their next act. And in that, we help them to do a couple of things. One is to explore all the different types of entrepreneurship that's out there, but also to get clear, is there something in your heart that you have maybe buried, stuffed in the closet, forgotten about, something that has meaning and purpose to you, that it's now time to pull that out of the closet and figure out how to utilize it going forward in whatever way you choose to create income. So that whole business entity is all about helping people in career transition to explore entrepreneurship. It's about helping them to get started up in some kind of an entrepreneurial endeavor. It's helping them to grow a business, which then leads to the next part of the funnel, where we build teams of small business owners who are creating income, get them engaged in the community, to get them involved in problem solving processes. Because, small business owners, in my humble opinion, are far better problem solvers than any politician. Just my opinion. And then this guy, what are we doing with the Hope Institute right now?
Oh, we want to talk about the campground?
Yeah, absolutely.
We are actually hoping we got a campground we'll be purchasing in the near future.
Yes.
What we'll do there is bring in aged out youth who have nothing else to do and are wandering around lost, and maybe even some veterans who are running around lost, who needs maybe, first of all, to get them physically and mentally happy. Then we can teach them a trade. And that's what our future is going to be. I believe we're going to be helping people in that manner.
Absolutely. And definitely, providing some temporary housing as well, so that they're in a positive environment. We can help them with healing body, mind, and spirit. And then in this first campground, we intend to teach them how to become RV repair technicians. No personal desires there, absolutely, being that we're full-time RVers. Yes. But it is an area where there's a huge need. And we've been told that on average, RV techs are getting paid about $100 an hour. So we could help to make sure that people are becoming self-sustaining. So that's the system all working together to create more entrepreneurs as a result of the campgrounds.
Right.
And personally, I believe this year, as we go further into 2026, our desire is to be talking to more groups of people, just like the event we did. Love to be in churches, love to be in front of organizations, and just helping people who are trying to figure out where to go from here. Give them some next steps to explore. Being able to speak to groups is where we want to be, which is why I'm thankful that we're here today.
Absolutely. And I love your approach, because it's almost like you're manufacturing entrepreneurs, so to speak.
Yes.
That is the product. There are more entrepreneurs And I love that your target market are the unemployed, the veterans, the young adults. And I love how you are then, once you create the entrepreneurs, that you're then creating these hubs where there can be these solution focused hubs. So I love the way that the way all of that works. And so how do you approach with your marketing? I think probably one of your approaches is the event that I had the opportunity to attend. And I guess let's start there, and maybe we can move from there. But when it comes to your marketing, especially if you have three types of the for-profit and the nonprofit under the same umbrella, how are you able to effectively market so that you're reaching your particular niche in a way? Because oftentimes, different voices tell us as entrepreneurs, well, you should only just focus on one thing, but that's not always possible. You have a multi-pronged organization and things like that. So what is your marketing approach in a way that you're reaching those that you need to reach, but without muddying the waters? How do you do it? What's your secret?
Well, over the past 25 years, understand that we have spent time prototyping each piece of the system. And so depending on where we were in the prototype process, then our marketing was targeting a different kind of group of people. So, there's been times where we were just trying to reach small business owners who could either do career transition, business startup, or business growth services. We were trying to reach business people who could come together in a local community and be able to create some kind of a new solution. So every time we had to prototype a new piece, then it was a different marketing message, a different piece altogether. And that has been a challenge. That I'm not going to lie about that. That has been a huge challenge. And especially when, just like you said, business coaches will say, well, you can only have one product or service. And I'm like, no, what we have is one system. And that system is being built. It's almost, I don't think it's a whole lot different than if you were in a big corporation and you were trying to build out different departments in a big corporation, right? So you have different marketing depending on who you're trying to attract, that you want to hire into that corporation, etc. So we've done all of those things. And right now the campground is kind of the last prototype we're building. Yeah. So on one side of the fence, we're over here doing marketing towards fundraising, trying to find investors, looking for people who might actually want to come and live on the campground, building relationships with foster care organizations that might be able to refer people to us. So we've got that whole marketing going on over on one side. But the event that you attended that we called Fresh Starts at Any Age, that is a completely different kind of marketing, because that's where we're starting to feed the funnel. And this is the first time in a number of years that we've taken and said, okay, we've got enough of this funnel built. Now let's focus on feeding the funnel and knowing that, we're going to have other business owners who are part of this funnel who can get involved in helping us with different kinds of pieces of marketing. When we went out to do this event, we decided to cast the net wide and see who showed up. And, we were very grateful that you almost sight unseen decided to come out and see what we were doing and spent that day with us. That was a blessing for sure. But when we did the marketing for that, we looked at the groups that we knew were the most likely to have a desire to create something. They still have something they want to give and income they want to create. And so we actually had separate flyers. We had a flyer just in general for fresh starts at any age. It showed people sitting at laptops and dollars floating around. But then we had one specifically for veterans to try to bring them in. We had one specifically for seniors. We live right now in a 55 plus community, and there's sometimes seniors who still feel like they have something to give. We had one for the younger generation, the ones who were just graduating high school or college. So we had all these different flyers, and we just cast the net wide to see who showed up. And the people who did show up the most often were the ones who are currently unemployed. Although we had some awesome young people who actually have their own podcasts who came out because they wanted to learn about entrepreneurship too. So that's a very long question or answer to a short question, but marketing has been the most challenging thing we have dealt with, no doubt.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you saying that, because, even though it has been challenging, you figured out a way to do it, that it is possible to communicate the same message to different groups of people to attract. And I like the way that you said of being able to cast a wide net. I think that's really, really important as well, because we're able to do business so much different now. Technology has allowed us to actually have an open globe approach to our business. So you just never know who's going to fall into that funnel, but you've proven that you can communicate different messages at once. It just might take a little nuance, and you might have to go back into the lab a couple of times and do a nip and a tuck and a tweak, but it can work. And so I think that's helpful for entrepreneurs that may be multi-gifted or are offering multiple either gifts or goods or services. So thank you so much for giving us some insight there. So I think where I want to move forward now into our conversation is that some of the people that you're working with can be considered some of our most vulnerable within our community, or disenfranchised in some way. And it's possible that they might be a little leery or look at people side eye, as some people might say. What would you say? How do, and both of you can respond as you see fit. How do you establish trust? What do you do to establish that authentic trust, so that you're able to bring in those who are going through certain challenges to understand that you are a safe place and that you have a genuine desire to help them to succeed, to become sustainable themselves? How do you all work on building that trust with those that you want to work with? And you can talk about it on both sides, for the for-profit and for the nonprofit, if it's different.
Boys Girls Club.
I know, that's what I was thinking too. That's probably the best story to share in terms of what happened. You want to start off?
Well, a few years ago in Raleigh, we were doing an event for young teenagers. It was at the Boys and Girls Club. Was that Rec Center?
The Teen Club.
Teen Club.
Yep.
And we're in there trying to teach these kids. They were kind of tired of sitting in like school all day. They didn't really want to sit around in the summertime. So well, it was a pretty heated discussion, but a good discussion. And one of them said, "Why are you two old white farts coming in here with us?" Well,
it was an African American community.
Yes.
Okay.
And it was pretty funny. So she told him why. He told him why.
Well, we told them that they didn't understand that we were there to help, because we believed that they had capabilities that probably nobody in school had ever explored with them. And, that was a big part. And I looked at him and I said, who do you think sent us here? And one guy said, the government. And we were like, no, don't insult us that way.
It was really funny.
It was. But we almost didn't get to that conversation because in the first couple of weeks, like you were talking about, these young people were very mistrusting of us, and
Yes.
they were cussing us out. They were playing on their phones. They were not paying attention to any of the very amazing speakers that came in and wanted to start teaching them about entrepreneurship. And one day we looked at them and said, on the first day here, didn't you guys tell us that what you want to do with your lives more than anything is to help other people? And they were like, yeah, that's what we want to do. And we said, well, if you were trying to help somebody and they were being mean and cussing you out and ignoring you and playing on their phones, so what would you do? And one of the guys stood up and says, I'd leave. And I said, exactly. And so Don and I started walking out, and they chased us down and begged us to come back. And it was just so funny because that's when the conversation that he's talking about started. It's like, okay, well, if you guys really want us to stay, you need to start talking to us and telling us, why are you being so mean to us? And the number one thing that they said, and I think this has carried us in everything else that we've done, was they said, we like the idea of being business owners, but we don't want anybody to teach us business. We want to do business. And that's when all of our programs became a very hands-on kind of thing where, tell her what happened when you took them out to find sponsors for the event.
Well, in Raleigh or Northfield's REI sports store, pretty good size.
Mm-hmm.
I took 3 of them with me. We were looking for donations.
Yep.
So being that they were back at the teen center, and when we got to the store, we walked in, all of a sudden, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. I said, okay, where's the kids I brought in with me? They just did a 180, showing that they could be young adults.
Exactly.
They knew how to play the system, and they were great the whole time.
Great.
And we left REI, we left a pretty good load from
a bunch of donations.
A lot of donations, right, because of those young adults.
That's it.
I absolutely adore that story. I think I like what they said, that don't teach us about business, but teach us how to do business. And and first and foremost, Cheyenne, I like the way that what I heard of what kind of took that wall down was because you reminded them of their own dream. And that's what I thought that was really important and pivotal, that you basically put their own dream of what they said that they wanted to do back in front of their faces. And
Yes.
and they realized that you were a door to get to where they want to be. And so I want to say thank you for that. I think I've seen one of my friends who is a teacher, that she finds that even with her classes, when she reminds them of what they said that they want to do and what they accomplish, it helps, it triggers something for them to work harder because it's their dream. And not someone else's. And so I really appreciate that. And Mr. Don, I appreciate the way that you took them along with you, so that those who would be willing to contribute to your effort, they could see the faces of the individuals that they would be helping. So, and they fell right on in, didn't they?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think they were just tired of sitting around. You go to school,
right,
all day you sit in class, you listen to a teacher and everything. I think they really, when we got out with them and went to different places, they were at their best, and they were outstanding.
They were. They were definitely kinesthetic learners, and that's the case with a lot of our young people these days, especially any who have been told they might have symptoms of ADD, ADHD. They are kinesthetic learners. They don't learn by just sitting in a chair and listening. So that's what they taught us. And just to kind of round that one out, I mean, they ended up creating their own basketball tournament, their own community cookout, and their own flea market, and they took home the money they made. So that created just a completely different scenario in those young people's minds in terms of what they were capable of.
I think they were a little surprised taking the taking the money home.
Yeah,
their money.
They were, yeah.
They made some good money.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you work for it, you can take it.
That's right.
That's it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Don and Sheyenne, it's been such a pleasure as we prepare to kind of downshift in our conversation. As Sheyenne, we've had the opportunity to have a one-on-one, and as you know, I am passionate about employing love as that ultimate success factor to renew women's leadership mindset with fresh fire and purpose. So that's the core of my work. But here's what I believe about love. I believe that the effective power of love is a game changer. I believe that love gives us an edge, not just in our heart matters, but it provides us an edge so that we can be innovative in business, that we could be powerful in leadership, fully present for our teams, our stakeholders, knowledgeable about our industry trends, as well as benevolent in our community service. That's what I believe that the power of love can enable us to do as enterprisers. That's what I believe. So yes. Understanding that belief and understanding that love can help us to be powerful in leadership. What would you all say? How would you describe what kind of leader that you are? And this is a two-part question. What kind of leader would you describe yourself to be? And how has love tangibly shaped you into the leader that you believe that you are? And I'll let you all take it in the order that you want to go.
Good. You first.
He always likes to hear what I say, and then he bounces off it. That's all good. We have a mentor that we have a lot of respect for, and his motto is love like crazy, then love more. And his other saying, and he's got a sweatshirt that says it, is fire your brain and hire your heart. So those are the things that we have been working very hard to become more and more, living in that space, because, trust me when I say some of the groups we've worked with in the past, we had to be doing it out of love, because otherwise you're just subjecting yourself to some real difficulty. Mm-hmm. So, that's our core, is that we love people, we love humanity, and we absolutely believe that we were all given God-given potential that we have not tapped into yet. And the fact that this guy ran for governor of North Carolina, and we found out how corrupt the systems were, that has been an act of love for us to work on building this new system that's all designed to put heart and soul back into business, education, and communities. So yeah, I call myself a heart-based entrepreneur, a heart-based leader, and I'm pretty sure this guy probably feels pretty much the same about himself.
Definitely.
What else would you say about that whole concept?
Well, you covered it pretty good.
I covered it good. Okay.
Took all the words out of my mouth.
So you basically answered for the group, Miss Sheyenne.
I guess so.
That you all are heart-based entrepreneurs. And I absolutely love that. So what do you hope that future generations will benefit from the work, the systems that you are building today? What do you hope that future generations, how they will benefit from the work that you're doing today?
You start.
You want me to start? Well, I think the future generations got to understand. I mean, I have nothing against people going to college, but there are a lot of good jobs out there. You don't need a college education, such as we were talking about training people to learn how to repair RVs. Yes, you may have to use your hands more, but you still have to use your head. I mean, you go work on anything. Take a good car mechanic. They don't have to have a college degree, though some of them do. But to work on a car, you got to use common sense. And it's a lot to learn. I personally think if you're going to become a master mechanic, that's like having about 8 years of college, because there's so much working on a car, or truck, or an RV. There's a lot to it. So what I'm saying is there's education of all types that can help everybody. And people, young generations got to learn that there's other education. And we need all kinds of people to have different education.
Absolutely. And I would say one of the things that I hope for is that as a result of the things that we're doing, that somewhere along the line, the educational system in general includes more options for people to learn about entrepreneurial possibilities. I mean, when we lived in the Raleigh area, we were the only ones who showed up at career fairs at all the high schools talking about entrepreneurship. And kids would line up across the gym to talk to us because we were the only ones. So there was definitely an interest there, and some of the schools, really valued that we were bringing that concept to the table. And we hope that the trades become, and it's starting to be, because we have such a shortage of tradespeople now because the education system got away from promoting it. It was just trying to push everybody into a 4-year degree program. And, we're grateful that one of our sons,
our oldest son, I was thinking of it.
Yeah, he was being pushed by a Wake County school to go and get an engineering degree at one of the universities. And he's like, no, I'm a grease monkey. Get out of my way. I'm going to go and learn how to work on cars. And now he is extremely successful in the automotive industry. So, that's what we hope that we help to bring to the systems is, let's change how we're doing education. Let's change how we're doing business, become more heart-centered. And, oh my goodness, let's figure out how to create peace in our communities.
That's true. One of the things young people have to understand, like our oldest son actually started out changing tires and oil at a dealership. Now he's in charge of parts and service departments in about 13 dealerships.
It's pretty
So
cool.
you can go from starting there, but he listened to people who were giving him good advice.
It's true.
He had mentors that helped him, but he listened. That's the important thing. The young people have to listen
and explore.
Yeah, definitely explore. Yes.
And I absolutely love that. And thank you for giving us some insight there. I think, I've come through public education, higher education, and different things like that. And there doesn't seem to be, it's almost as if the educational systems go from one extreme to the other, where at one point where it's like push, 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 higher education, higher education, higher education. And oftentimes when I would be in the field, I ran across a lady she and her husband owned a manufacturing company. And she was like, I blame you for, and then people don't want to work with their hands anymore. She was like, I blame you. I'm like, me, I just got here. I'm like, what are you talking? But at the same time, though, and while I understood exactly where she was coming from, but now we have a lot of programs at the same time that's under the umbrella of career and technical education where they're just pushing all trade, but then no higher education. It would be great if we could find that balance, like you all made mention, to understand that students have choices, whether or not you do want to go to college, if that's not your thing, but here's an opportunity where I could use my hands. And but all of that, to find your place, to explore, to find your place. So hopefully if with the work that you're doing, and hopefully it was some of the work that I'm doing, that our educational systems will learn how to create something that includes both, so that young people can find their place and where and how they want to serve their part of the world.
Yes.
That is amazing. So here's a part, and both of you all have been educating us throughout the entire course of our conversation, but right here in this particular place, for those who may be listening in our listening audience, it's possible that they are still in a career that they're not too interested in. They're, as you said, Mr. Don, they're working, making somebody else rich, and they're not necessarily focused on what it is that they need to do or the giftings that they have to help bring wealth to themselves and to their families. So, what tip or encouragement or resource would the both of you give to someone that is considering stepping into a dream career or even in creating a dream business, turning that into a reality, but they just haven't taken that leap? What tip, what encouragement, or what resource would you give to them?
Finding people that can mentor them.
Well, yes, finding mentors is a definite good thing, but I was going to ask you, so what was the tipping point for you going from working for office equipment companies to finally deciding to take the leap and start your own copier repair company?
Well, some people might think I'm a little conceited, but I knew I could do a better job.
Well, confidence is important in
Yeah.
entrepreneurship,
There we
is it
go.
not?
I knew I could do better, seriously, better job. And I wound up doing a better job.
He did.
And my company actually was one of the fastest growing ones in the Raleigh area.
Yeah, at that time it was.
Right.
And of course, for myself, I do offer a free resource on my website, which is cheyenneandcreamer.com, that people can go there and be able to get kind of an overview of a class that I created and I taught there at Wake Tech Community College for 10 years, called Find Your Song and Sing It, Finding or Creating Work You Love. So there's an introduction to that on the website that people are welcome to check out. And there's actually a class online that people can I basically do it on a donation kind of basis. If somebody wants access to it, it's a whole YouTube playlist, takes them through 9 sessions to help them gain more clarity about how they could take that jump.
Wonderful. And you said the title of that was Find Your Song and Sing It. Is that correct, Sheyenne?
Yeah. Find your song and sing it, finding or creating work you love.
Yeah. It's not about singing.
No, it's not about singing. It's your heart song.
We've had
Finding
people
and
say,
creating work that you love. Absolutely. And how can we find that, Ms. Cheyenne, so we can make sure that we get that into the bio? So thank you for this extra resource.
Yes, I didn't even think about that earlier. It's just CheyenneCreamer.com, and I believe that resource can be accessed right there on the homepage.
Wonderful. So we're going to make sure we get that information in the bio. So before we move forward from here, and I love the way that you all said that mentorship, and also knowing that you can do a better job. Sometimes that's all you need. That's all you need there. Now let's talk about those who are living the dream. They're already in the dream. They're living the dream. But they're feeling a little frustrated. They're feeling a little stuck. What would you say it would to help them move forward? What tip or encouragement or resource would you give them that might be a little different than mentorship or knowing that they could do a better job? They're already doing a better job. So what would you give to them if they're feeling frustrated or stuck, and how to move forward?
I got a good one.
What's that?
If you're, fairly successful in your business, that you're your own business, and you're feeling a little frustrated, find someone to mentor.
There you go. Pay it forward.
There we go.
Pay it forward. That will put that spark back into your life.
It's true. It's true. And for me, I would say whenever you get stuck, the answers are within. There is no other resource that you need other than to spend that time. If you're a praying person, then prayer is a good place. Meditation's a good place. Just seeking. And for some people, it may be more about their subconscious mind, and that's fine too. Because our subconscious is our ultimate problem solver. And if you don't give it the opportunity, if you don't seek those answers, that's the best resource there is, right within.
Absolutely. And I love that. Become the mentor on this side. Find someone to mentor and to find the answer within, whether that's with meditation, prayer, or however you need to do it. find the answer within for those who are feeling stuck, but they are reliving the dream, how to get unstuck. So I love that. Now, Don and Sheyenne, you all have provided a complimentary gift on today, a downloadable digital book that's titled Skip the Politics and Create Heaven on Earth. Why don't you all tell us about the gift that you're offering our audience on today?
Well, the book was inspired because of his run for governor. So a lot of, some of the book is, just trying to shine the light on what we've experienced. And not everybody may agree with everything that we have to say, but we're just sharing information from the experience that we had and sharing information about the journey we're on. So if people feel at all called towards helping to create health, wealth, and peace on earth, we give them, some ideas about entrepreneurship, about health and wellness, about the education system. And, we're encouraging people to be the miracle. Anything else you think of on that?
Got to be themselves.
Got to be themselves, because everybody else is already taken. So be yourself.
Be yourself and be the miracle. I absolutely love that. Yeah. So we do have that. You all have made that available on your Unity for Wellness and Peace.com website. So we're going to make sure that we get that into the bio. So thank you so much for offering this to our listening audience. Well, Don and Sheyenne, I have to say that it's been my greatest honor to have this conversation. I love the way we were able to go back and forth, the way that you all were able to feed off one another. This was such a pleasant experience. So as we prepare to sign off, what final words would you send us home with on how we are to move forward through 2026 and beyond? What are your final words?
Love like crazy and love more.
That's a good one. Here's what I like to usually leave people thinking about, because personally, we believe everybody was born with a piece of a super puzzle. Mm-hmm. And if we were all actively building our piece of the super puzzle, we would already be experiencing ultimate health, wealth, and peace on planet Earth. And if you're not seeing that much health, wealth, and peace on earth, then you might want to ask yourself, are you still sitting on your puzzle piece? Because we need you. You are the miracle we're waiting for.
Are you trying to say, stop sitting on your hands?
Stop sitting on your puzzle piece.
Get on a plane.
Get up and do it. That's it.
I love that. So listening audience, do you hear that? Love like crazy and love more, and build your piece of the ultimate puzzle. Make sure you're doing your piece of the puzzle, because you are the miracle. Well, thank you so much, Don and Sheyenne. It was such an honor to have you on today. Well, ladies and leaders, we want to say thank you for joining us. Remember, you can connect with Don and Sheyenne by visiting their website at unityforwellnessandpeace.com. You may also connect with them via email at trianglesolutionsAlliance@gmail.com. And don't forget to connect with them on social media with facebook.com/groups/Unity for Wellness and Peace. And don't forget to take advantage of their complimentary gift, which is a downloadable digital book, Skip the Politics and Create Heaven on Earth. That is available on unityforwellnessandpeace.com. Also, don't forget to tap into Cheyenne's additional complimentary gift. Find your song and sing it. Find and creating the work that you love. You may find that on CheyenneCreamer.com on the homepage. And we're going to make sure that we get this information in the bio. Now, leaders, do you have an important story to tell that would inspire others to step into their dream career or business? If so, check the bio to learn how to become one of my special guests. And also, I invite you to check out my brand new book, My Journey to Wholeness, Love the Success Factor, the new edition. Now available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Ingram Sparks. This book and its companion reference guide workbook remains a tangible demonstration of how God's love develops women to lead, create, and generate wealth in the fullness of our equality, purpose, and business. However, you will find additional insights, steps, and activities on how to practically apply love to your real life circumstances, careers, or business models with resources already within your immediate reach. So check the bio to learn how to visit my Author's Corner to access the entire My Journey to Wholeness book, series, and gift collection. So we want to say thank you for joining in for another episode of the Women's Leadership Mindset series. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, here's to the journey, and let's move forward.